All right, is there anybody else here in the audience that would like to speak that hasn't spoken? Is there anybody else online or on the phone that would like to speak that has not spoke yet? You may need to hit *6 to unmute yourself. Again, anybody online or on the phone that would like to speak? All right, I'm not hearing any. We will close the public hearing. Commissioners, questions for, well, actually, we have the applicant to respond. The applicant, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to touch on a few things just to clear some things up. Since I took over this project, we don't have a, what was the term again, sewer dump on this particular site. The site that she was pointing to is an air station, where you fill up your tires. Dump stations are important to us, especially in the town of McCall, where you have a lot of RV parks that already have dump stations. It's not a thing that we particularly need. So any worries of an RV dump station, we won't have one. Even if there was one that was shown previously, I don't think there is one now, according to the last site plans that I've seen. As concerning the sale of FJ Flying J, that was a sale from CR. Maverick is owned by a couple. They're the sole owners of it. They sold off Flying J to Warren Buffett's organization. That's the Flying J Travel Centers. Yeah, 80% is done, I think, next year, which was correct. It was online, but has nothing to do with Maverick. They sold that off to Warren Buffett in a stage system. It's way above my pay grade. Let's see. And I understand there's a lot of concerns with the traffic study, and a lot of that has to deal with future traffic, depending on how the areas between Stibnite and Colorado develop in the future. So we're overlaying additional traffic, so increase the traffic like 30, or I think it was from 31 trips to something like 111 trips. I'm just going that by pure memory, but where the left turn movement happens, as you well know, on anybody trying to turn left onto Colorado, even today, it's a trial. But that's overlaying future traffic on as well. And again, we'll go over our traffic study, have our traffic engineers look at it, meet the comments that and concerns that Morgan and Brian have, and we can easily review that and get that so it's acceptable to both City McCall and to IP. Trying to go through some of the notes as people talk. And I understand the concerns of a lot of the residents. I've actually had 2 neighborhood meetings for this particular project, and I do understand their concerns. And we've hopefully tried to address some, and apparently we need some more review to address some of those further comments. We're willing to put in the work to make sure that we're doing what's right by the city. Can't see anything else I really need to address, but those are my comments. Again, we'll make sure that we, as I talked to my architect this morning, with the light pollution and getting it down to 1.5 as an average across the site, that is work on. The question is just how we do it. Brighter under the canopies and less than 3 hours and more of a across the entire site. That's something we'll look at. But it's, again, one of the many questions that I think came from Brian and Morgan, and we'll be willing to look at those. And so any other questions? We'd be glad to answer them.
Commissioners, you have any questions for the applicant at this point?
I have a question. I think it was somebody from Epicos who mentioned that there was a site or some property south of Dinehard near the airport that he understood people had approached Maverick to trade. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so a local realtor reached out to me when I was at a neighborhood meeting a few months ago. I took that package and took it to our real estate manager that's over the area. The area is close to it's, I think if I'm correct, it's right at the edge of the city of McCall to county. So one side's county, the other side's city. So it's way out on the outskirts of town by the airport. Again, as I talked to you before, it's our concern is we need to have cars going by our property to, that's where our customer base comes from, is that 88% bypass that come into our site. You don't get as much traffic on the outskirts of town. I think previous entitlement managers, like myself, looked at the corner of Boydston and 55, and I believe that was access issues. We weren't allowed to have an access off of Boydston or 55. We'd have to come kind of back into the site from the backside, is what I understood. But that's all just things I've heard, not things that were directed to me. But we have looked at outside properties, of course, but we feel that when this site became available, it was something we jumped on quickly. We typically don't close on property. Usually we don't close on a piece of ground until all our entitlements are in place. We know we're going to be able to build. When this property became available, it was something that our owners thought was viable and would be beneficial for us since we have a ground lease. So that's why they purchased it so quickly and not waited for a due diligence period. So that's why we're in the position we are and trying to get a store approved.
Thank you.
Hopefully that
And
wasn't too circular.
there's no other property that you looked at other than the one that you landed on right now?
Because at the time, we were looking to relocate our store and that one became available to us. And it made sense. It was a good location. And that's where the ownership.
So your studies say that from a traffic standpoint, you can't make anything other than that piece of property work effectively, meaning you're considering the signal out there by the airport, that considering that out of town, and any farther than that or the other going south is more detrimental to your numbers as far as being able to make it work?
It's all about traffic getting to your site,
Yeah.
and getting past it. There are other cities that are past us that have facilities that could take that traffic or already taking that traffic, as I stopped at a few of those stores on my way into town. So what Maverick's goal is to still keep our downtown port or downtown area, because that's where our current store is, and we would like it to remain active there. That's why we're not looking at other sites at this time, because we own this piece of ground. We want to entitle this as far as we can go. And as long as we're continuing to work with the city of McCall, we hope that we can achieve that. Right now, Maverick's focus is on the property we have purchased.
Okay.
The city had numerous conditions or concerns. What are your thoughts on, I mean, there was at least a dozen of them or more.
Yeah,
Are those something that's, I mean, what's your thoughts on all those?
No, I understand it. I've been doing this for a while. I mean, I have been with Maverick for a long time, but as a consulting engineer for 27 years, I've represented a lot of people in a lot of places. I understand, especially the people that have formed a coalition on Colorado Street. It's directly right by their properties. I understand the impacts they have on them. It is a commercial zone, though. It's an area that has a conditional use as a fuel center and a convenience store. And it's one that we feel is good for the area. I know that's our opinion. It feels the need for the community and the tourists to come here and also the people that go there. I understand that there is a lot of local opposition to this, and I can understand that. But we will do our best to meet as best we can those demands. And that's why I continue to come up here and meet with people and have these conversations. I enjoy working with Brian and Morgan. They've been reasonable but fair. And they've held me accountable on many things, had me come back with some drawings. So I appreciate their efforts as well. And we still want to continue to grow with this town. So yes, I have concerns, but I think I can address them.
Commissioners, any other questions?
I think so.
I don't have any.
It's really commissioners with
Oh,
that.
okay.
No, sorry, we'd take all night if we had to do that. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Right. Well, commissioners, thoughts?
Well, think I might have missed the second time they came back, but the design that I first saw and the design that's here, in my opinion, should not be approved. I don't think it's in keeping with our design standards. And I remember the requests that were made, more logs, keeping with the colors in our design guidelines, and I don't see that. And so that concerns me enough to say that I would not support approving the design side.
Thoughts, I guess?
I'll go ahead. I probably won't be too detailed in any of these comments because we've heard a lot of information this evening. But I do want to reiterate a few of the things that I think are important. I think it fails to meet the comp plan. For our long-term planning for this community, I do not see how this meets really any of those goals or policies. And like I said, I can go into more detail, but I just don't think it's necessary. I feel it fails to meet the conditional use permits, the 12 standards that it needs to. It doesn't necessarily fail all of them, but it certainly fails enough of them. The traffic impact study, I think, is inadequate. I think a lot of the assumptions that were made in that study do not reflect reality, and it should be revisited. I don't think it preserves or enhances the scenic character of the scenic route. So that review, I think it fails to meet that. And it fails to meet the design review. I don't think there's any architectural design to minimize the scale or really kind of meet the criteria that we're looking for. So those are a few of the comments quickly.
Me?
I agree 100%. I think, to me, the application in general is lacking. It's lacking the level that we are accustomed to seeing, the level of detail, the level of, okay, yeah, Morgan can normally come into us and say, yes, this site can meet, it needs to do these 3 things, but yes, it's going to meet all of our code requirements. And this one, I mean, she can't say that. So I am almost like, I'm not even evaluating a complete, to me, it's just lacking. It's just lacking.
Tony, your thoughts? Did you write them down?
Well, it almost seems to me like that they're taking this new Maverick and they're trying to sandwich it into a lot of other problems and a lot of other situations that in my experience in being in the grocery retail business, is not something you want to do. They really have no room for expansion if it was approved, and if it did locate at that particular location, there's nowhere to go as far as that is. And I think from the future planning of these organizations like convenience stores like Jackson's and Maverick and everywhere else, they're always looking to look at the future and say, well, what are we going to do next, or how are we going to expand next, or where do we need to go? And this location just doesn't comply with any of that type of thing. It's a island in the middle of an island, like the island in the middle of the lake. It's there and you can't go anywhere with it. And also the traffic impact study is dated, and I don't really believe a lot of the numbers in there. Looking at it, and I don't know how to read a traffic impact study better than anybody else, but just looking at the numbers, they just don't seem like they're workable. And I think the design situation with the building is lacking, and it doesn't meet the standards that we set forth in something like that, because they talked about, a log cabin style building and more attuned to the atmosphere and the beauty of the McCall area and on our town. And so with that, they say, well, it would be something that we wanted to do, but it's going to be more expensive, or it's going to be this, or it's going to be that, and just not willing to come to the party here and do what we want them to do. And maybe it's a little bit different of an explanation than you folks had, but more along the lines of just looking at it practically. It just doesn't comply in my expertise of being associated with this type of business. It's really all I have.
And I think the other thing that concerns me is the traffic and the right-hand turns and the left-hand turns. And, people will use that left-hand turn and fill Colorado and First Street up, and that's going to be a mess. Same way with Stibnite. Jared talked about it's going to pour everybody that wants to go back into town onto Stibnite. And by the school, by the church, with the daycare, by the senior center. I mean, it just seems to me it would be really hard for me to feel good about saying this is a great thing, and except for those three things, then I'm going to overlook them. I can't do that. I know for a fact, well, I use Maverick all the time, and I either turn right or I go left on Railroad, so I can go back across town. And that's exactly what the people are going to do here. And it's only more of them are going to be doing it because more and more people are coming to town every year. And so I've got a real problem with the traffic as well.
Well, I agree with everybody. I think there's lacking quite a few items. The design review part of it, one, I mentioned to them in the very first one about the log accents. I think that's important for the area to give a feel. Standard rock is not, we're not a rock quarry. I'm going to go over all the other details, but I think we're all in pretty much consensus. With that, I guess maybe with legal, we normally would go down the list, but I think we've kind of went down the list. And I believe in the past you have,
I suggest that you continue deliberations until a date certain and direct staff to begin preparing findings consistent with your discussion. That's what I think you
That's
should
what
do
we've
today.
done in the past.
So table it now for this meeting, or is that what you're saying?
continue it, yeah.
Okay.
So basically our discussions are that, let me, if I can get this in. Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Can we vote on the design review? Because that's within our purview, correct?
Yeah, so there's a series of decision points you have here. And Brian, I focused primarily on the CUP, but what do they have in front of them today?
Conditional use permit, design review, and CUP.
Yeah, I suggest that we prepare findings on all of those. Would be my suggestion. I don't think you're going to want to vote tonight because we need a record that's going to support you. Okay, and it's important that we develop that and that it reflects the evidence in the record and a deliberative process. And so upon review, assuming we go that direction, it would be upheld by a reviewing authority. So that's what I think we ought to do. I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves and deny or prove anything tonight. And instead, staff's been taking notes. We've got a record here that we can go back and review, and we can use that record, the evidence, the testimony, all of the submissions, and to start to develop findings that will support the direction it sounds like the board's headed.
So you don't,
Good with that?
so you don't need us to go into any more detail than what we've already discussed at this point. I think it's pretty clear.
Staff may have questions.
For the benefit of writing findings, it may be helpful for you guys to just run through the CUP standards and flag some stuff so that I can incorporate that in the findings better.
All right. Let's see. A couple different spots in here where we had that. List. I'm not trying to find the easiest.
Right at the beginning of the CUP.
I know I've seen it a couple times.
Yeah. Right behind this CUP tab. Starts Clark Wardell. So, that's there.
That's there, but yeah.
It has each one of them spelled out.
Okay, so we'll go down the list as we've done a few times. So number one be constitute a conditional use authorized in the zone involved. Now that one would be a conditional use permit, so that does do that. Be harmonious and in accord with the general objectives, any specific objectives of the comprehensive plan.
Do you have any?
If I can find them.
I got him. I have them like summarized.
Yeah, go for it.
Word for word.
Okay.
Vision, a diverse small town, maintain safety, clean, healthy, attractive environment, friendly, progressive, affordable, sustainable. So diverse small town. I'm not feeling the small town with the current structure.
I agree.
Maintains a safe, clean, healthy, and attractive environment.
I think from a safety standpoint, the traffic issue won't allow that one to fly.
Yes, at a minimum, I think. The fact that Colorado Street is already a bike, I mean, it's a designated bike
Yeah.
zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I actually think that Lisa made a good point, at least to be considered about the safety of having a 24-hour store available right next to, I mean, and it is right next to, it is downtown, but it's still a residential zone. And there are still kids there. And I know, I drive past the daycare every day when I go take my son to school. And I send my son down Colorado. Okay, if you're gonna go downtown, you go down the street and then you cross here and then you go down the street and then you go over here. I mean, yeah, so I think there's more than just traffic safety. I think it's personal safety as well,
Pedestrian safety.
pedestrian safety.
There's numerous things.
Numerous.
So we could go for a while, I think. So
Yeah, okay, so vision, character, encourage mountain town character, unique to McCall, small town feel, highlight natural setting, quality built environment.
Now there, I would say, we already talked about the design look.
Yeah.
And also the trees and the lack of landscaping concerned me.
Yeah,
I think we covered that one probably enough. Number 3, be designed, constructed, operate, maintain harmonious and appropriate with appearance and existing likely character of the neighborhood, and that such will not change the essential character of the surrounding areas. Once again, kind of goes in with the design of the building, the layout.
The lighting.
The lighting.
24 hours.
Noise,
Is the
safety issues.
Yeah, the numerous things we talked about on that one. Again, many of these, I don't know if they could be addressed. Okay, number 4, not be detrimental to health, safety, welfare of the persons residing, working in a neighborhood. I think the issue with the road, traffic study,
Mm-hmm.
Colorado is tricky at best.
Yep.
So I think that would, you can't fix the whole road.
change the hill that's there. That's-
Yeah, that's, and there's gonna be more. Not cause any substantial harmful consequences in the land waters. I don't know about that one. I think the new tanks and everything they got, that I don't really know if there's any relation to that, but there's still engineering stuff to be done on that, but,
Still a potential risk.
You mean the fuel tanks?
well, yeah, I mean, if you cause substantial harm, there's no way to say at this point that that would happen.
Right.
Okay, number 6, not create any excessive additional public cost. Public facility services not detrimental. Don't appear to see any really extra potential cost if they're fixing up some of the stuff. I don't. That was one that probably okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to pay. Number 7, be adequately be served adequately by essential public facilities, including highways, police, fire detection, refuse, water, sewer, schools. And maybe condition of, or as required, maybe condition to mitigate any deficiencies. Well, part of that they would already have to fix potentially or partner in with the sewer line. So there is some issues that they're aware of on that. Service and highways, again, we're in the roads, not sure with the traffic study and items on that. Anything else? Is anybody on that item?
Stormwater.
For the stormwater, yeah, and the grade and that, so it was part of the engineering that we don't have all those answers. Okay, number 8, not involve any activities, processes, materials, equipment, conditions operating that will cause unreasonable traffic, noise, fumes, glare, odor, other forms of pollution. No, I know there's a worry about the light.
There is not going to be a dump station.
There is no dump station, so that eliminates that.
There was concern expressed by some of the neighboring businesses that have outdoor eating regarding the fumes.
Yeah,
Was there an issue about the size of the dumpster or the dumping?
just an enclosure around it.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that was, yeah. Number 9, have vehicular approaches to the property designed to not create any detrimental interference traffic or on surrounding public or private thoroughfares or adversely affect public the pedestrian environment, I think there is some questions on that for sure. So definitely a few items there. Not result, destruction or loss, damage, an important natural scenic historic feature. Well, I don't think that because the woodsman is gone and it was falling in on itself, so. That one's really not an issue. Be on a site sufficient size to accommodate the use, including yards, open spaces, snow storage, walls, fences, parking areas, loading zones, and design standards if applicable. I know this one to me is a little iffy. I think they could do it, but.
Yeah, but I think that that aerial was a good optic, whatever you call it, that shows you how big that structure is on the property relative to the structures that are on the properties around it. It's a big dang parking lot too, you know.
It's a lot of parking lots.
So that concerns me.
Just to be clear, the site plan showed on Ms. Holmes' aerial overlay was an old one. It's not-
Oh, okay.
So we're all,
Yeah, it is the same amount of pumps. Building is a couple thousand feet bigger, but it is double the size of land, so.
Right.
I mean, it's 1.4 acres instead of 0.78, I think it was approximate number. So to me, it could kind of fit on there, but I think it's got a lot of other issues.
And there was 17 parking places as opposed to 13 that,
23,
was it
23 spots.
that was right.
23? And what the requirement was, how many?
9, I believe.
Really? Oh, that's the difference right there, big.
And then number 12, have a minimal negative economic impact on the neighborhood or surrounding community. I mean, it is a commercial zone. It's been a commercial.
There's definitely an impact on the economic. It's going to influence property values for people in the surrounding area.
Yeah, you definitely can't compare Maverick to the cute little 634 coffee shop.
Yeah.
No.
As far as economic impacts on the real estate.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really iffy.
That help?
Yeah.
So with that, we'll be given guidance for staff, so we're gonna continue this. And, well, I just wanna make sure before we do the motion, this is what we're looking for, or that we would continue it based on what we just discussed and to deny those items. All right, I'm open for a motion.
And would you like a specific date?
Oh, yeah, how's your calendar looking, or how's our calendar looking?
October 4th is the next meeting, and we can discuss that.
We can do it. Okay,
I'll try.
Scott, you get maybe the final one? Maybe it might be your final one.
Good idea. Don't let me.
Well, we're running low on time, so we'll see.
I'll screw it up, Scott, if I do it, so.
Agenda, it's not over, Scott.
I know, so I say,
Yeah, but
okay, then I'll pass it on. No, I'll try it. I make a motion that we continue I don't have the numbers here, CUP 2201, design review 2202.
22,
22,
2201.
oh, 20, I'm looking down at the next one, 2201, and the scenic route 2201 to the October 4th meeting.
With,
Second?
Direct staff to prepare findings consistent with discussion or deliberation tonight.
Yeah, and that we direct staff to work on the findings to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote.
Brian, do you want to do the?
Commissioner Nemec,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes,
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinzer.
Yes.
all right, it's passed unanimously. And complete. All right, I think we can do this. Normally, if it's after 8 o'clock, we'll question if we're gonna start that, but I believe the applicant has waited long, and if everybody's on board, we'll go ahead and finish this one up.
I think it might be 8:30.
Yeah.
Oh, is it 8:30? Oh, okay, I was thinking 8. Oh, 8:30, we got lots of time.
Is that clock going the right direction this time, or?
I gotta get another.
So
Good, good.
if you guys need a break, let's make sure the applicant, is the applicant here or online?
He's online.
He's online? Okay, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break or a couple-minute break at least. So Jeff, if you're there, sorry, we just want to take a quick break. Who we have, Chad?
So when you're orange, I'm gonna go get one.
Yeah, where's the lobster now? Steak lobster? They eat it all?
Oh.
The lobster.
Nobody's there.
I gotta get, you're kind of a dreamer
I
there.
got kind of sad. I was like, nobody's hungry.
You had them back there, you needed them up here?
I know, I wanted them up here and they're trying to cook them away.
No, I mean.
Good, how are you?
Good.
So there's just no response back to the comments or concerns.
Are you
Well,
staying here tomorrow also?
I am
For the
because of the, yes, for the activity. Although I told Michelle
Thanks for all your help. Yeah.
because of my behavior on the
Hey,
appeal, I was
You
like,
guys, the meeting's not muted. I don't know if you want to mute the break.